Hey there friends and enemies, JoPa here again, and today I want to talk about the state of looter shooters in 2025 and talk a bit about the future of one of my favorite genres of video games. And starting off, I do want to talk about the heavy hitters in the looter shooter genre, with the most anticipated looter shooter of 2025 being Borderlands 4. This franchise is massive. It's got some very die-hard fans that will be around to play this game regardless. But we should be getting some additional gameplay reveals in the coming months, which hopefully will give us a better indication on the direction they're taking not only endgame content, but also the types of weapons and rarities that you get. I already like the fact that we are getting a more serious tone compared to Borderlands 3, and it does feel like they've learned some lessons from past mistakes. I know not everyone loved the reveal of the new Vault Hunters, but I personally think they look solid to start, and there's a lot of room for growth there if we see some interesting not only abilities, mechanics, and all that kind of good stuff. I do feel like there is a lot of hope for me with this game, and it could be an absolute banger. Regardless, it is likely to be successful, and I do feel like this is one that will dominate the headlines for looter shooters in the back half of 2025. That takes me to the probable number one in the genre, but also a game that has had some ups and downs recently, and that's Destiny 2. In my opinion, the current episode, Heresy, is the best episode or season we've gotten in several years. And it does feel like the developers there have learned a lot of interesting lessons to bring us content that I feel like has been missing for a long time, like boss rush modes, like rehashing some of the old favorite encounters that have been missing from the game for a long time. We've got a dungeon rotator coming to the game similar to the raid one that we got previously called Rights of the Nine, and I think this could be a step in the positive direction. If they continue to improve upon things once the new content delivery method arrives, and that is going to be Frontiers, dropping sometime in the summer. Frontiers is going to be two smaller expansions compared to the one major expansion they used to drop, as well as two major free updates. Now, we have to see a lot more before we really know what to expect, but I do think that this is going to be potentially a massive win for Destiny if they do it correctly, and that would be huge because this franchise deserves some wins after a lot of, like I said, ups and downs, some really hard times in the genre. Moving on to another game that has rivaled Destiny over the years and even surpassed it at times, and that's Warframe. They seem to continue chugging along. While they don't do as much flashy as Destiny 2, they don't hit the same highs all the time. It does feel like they are more consistent with that game, and I feel like they are just going to continue to put out interesting banger content and new frames, all that kind of stuff, everything that fans of the franchise continue to love. Now, it doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. I did worry a little bit when they announced Soulframe that they would be splitting their attention and not having enough developers working on Warframe to deliver amount of content that people are looking forward to, but that does not seem to be the case, and it does really feel like they are going to be juggling these two games for quite a few years from now, so there doesn't look to be an end in sight with Warframe at this particular time. Another ongoing game that has had some lows recently that hopefully will return to form is going to be The First Descendant. This is a game that I feel like has been surpassed in the pecking order and really peaked early on. It was fun initially, but there's a lot of reasons that I feel like the game is struggling right now, and there's no clear fix without some overhauls of the way the content works, and that might not appeal to the fans that are actually still enjoying the game. I don't know if this game is going to thrive in the way that everyone had hoped and really stick around over the long haul, but we'll have to wait and see. It does feel like the developers are fully dedicated to making this game the best that it possibly can be, so that's where I really hope that they continue to improve the experience and make it a game that not only the hardcore fans enjoy, but also a wider fan base can come back whenever they drop new content and enjoy the game as much as possible. Another one that I think is even more interesting than the First Descendant right now is Fallout 76. The only real game to capitalize on the hype and success of the Fallout show, Fallout 76 has actually really delivered some quality content updates as well in recent times, especially the latest one, which allows you to play as a ghoul. I found that to be pretty awesome. And overall, I do feel like that's a game that the barrier for entry is a little bit rough at times, and there's no crossplay, which I think really holds it back. But I do feel like there is potential for that game to continue and make new content that is enjoyable for the hardcore players, but also bring people back from time to time. Same thing that I wanted from the First Descendant. Fallout 76 seems to be doing better at this particular time. And we'll have to wait and see if both of them are able to stick around over the long haul. We also got a bunch of games that unfortunately were supposed to be looter shooters but have transitioned into different genres. We've got stuff like Arc Raiders, which was, again, supposed to be a looter shooter, but now is more of a survival game. Then we've got like Dune Awakening, which wasn't supposed to be a looter shooter, but had more MMO vibes than when I first saw it initially revealed. And then as we saw more, it does really feel like it is more survival heavy than traditional looter shooter or MMO light, as you would. And that's something that I have my concerns about. I do think Dune Awakening could be really good. I also am a little bit worried considering they're launching on PC initially without console, and sometimes that could really leave console players behind and fracture the fan base. So I hope that's not the case. I do hope Dune Awakening is successful. It's the type of game that I would love to play consistently and enjoy, but again, it's not going to hit the same as a more traditional looter shooter. But then we've got the most interesting game out there that we haven't heard about since late 2023, and I really hope we do see more of it in the near future, and it is released this year. There was initially thought that it was going to be releasing in 2024, and that is Project LLL from NCSoft. That's the type of game that I feel like could be awesome. It's got some vibes of Outriders with mechs involved. It's also more MMO-like than Outriders as well, so it is going to be live service ongoing, and that just really appeals to me. I feel like since Anthem, we really haven't had a game to get our hype and hopes up with. We also just know that they are working on some interesting features as well for that game, so I do feel like that could be one that is really, really able to shine if they deliver the quality content. The major key for that one is obviously going to be how the end game works, how the ongoing content plays out, and all of that. And if it's successful, it could be very, very good. Finally, I do want to talk about the Division franchise as well. I left this one to last because I have some major concerns about the future of it, especially with everything happening over at Ubisoft. We saw the Division Heartland canceled, which was an absolute bummer for me. I was really looking forward to that game and having more in the Division franchise. We have the Division 2, which continues to get content, but is fractured, and I feel like has struggled to the point at times of no return in full. Like, it still has some successes, but will never reach the heights that it could have, especially as we saw some of the updates for Division 2 really be underwhelming in the grand scheme of things. But we do know they are working on the Division 3. My major concern is it does feel like that is a long way off, and Division 2 won't hold people over until then, which is fine. A gap in content, I think, is a good idea. However, I do worry that because of what's happening at Ubisoft and the split off of their major franchises, that Massive and the Division franchise could fall by the wayside and get scrapped at some point. That is my major concern. I hope it doesn't happen. I do have some major worries there though, and Ubisoft in general is struggling so much that I just don't know if it's going to be able to turn things around and deliver the kind of experience with the Division 3 that we would all hope for. The Division 1 was absolutely awesome. I really enjoyed it. The Division 2 not nearly as much, and I do hope at some point we get another Division game that lives up to our expectations. We'll have to wait and see though. I'd love to hear from you guys what games you are most or least excited about. Are you still playing any looter shooters in 2025? Let me know. My name is JoPa. Have a good one. I'll catch you all later.